out live in Blackpool in the United Kingdom. Today is literally the final game, the final remaining matches, and the finals any moment now. Starting off this morning, we will be having the junior singles final, the best out of 15 frames, and the under 23 singles final, also best out of 15. Starting off with the junior singles final, the referee, please welcome George Bradbury. And the contestants for this category, junior singles final, from England, please give it up for Luke Gilbert. And his opponent from Northern Ireland, please welcome Galka. And for the under 23 singles final, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for referee John Chapman. The contestants from Ireland, Cormac Kerr. His opponent from England, please welcome Jack Smithers. Referees, please start the games.
Good morning and welcome back to Blackpool for continued live coverage of the 2018 World 8-Ball Pool Championships. We've had 9 days of high quality pool played. This is day 9, this is finals day, this is what everybody's been working towards. A number of different finals coming up today. First up this morning, the juniors individual final. Carol Galka of Northern Ireland takes on Luke Gilbert of England. Two exciting prospects, they fought their way through 5 matches each to get to this point. This is the moment that their dreams could be made. Chance to lift their first major trophies, the World 8-Ball Pool Championship. Referee for this one, George Bradbury, is just setting up the balls for the first frame. And as we welcome you to Blackpool, it's an unseasonably hot Blackpool at the moment. Heat reaching 25 plus degrees outside even at 9 o'clock in the morning. Even the Australians and South African teams visiting from those countries are commenting on how hot it is. It's not a position we've been used to in recent years. The action's certainly been hotting up off the table light. So, decent enough first break. The red balls, the balls of choice. Red potted off the break, so able to stick with the reds. It's Luke Gilbert of England who broke, so having played that initial safety shot on reds, first look at Carol Galka of Northern Ireland. Not a bad position as he comes to the table for the first time, but he's got these 2 yellows clustered around the black, so not an immediate opportunity for a clearance. If he wants to continue with this, he's going to have to cannon into them at some point. The right hand one of the balls clustered near the black does pot into the bottom left hand corner, so probably be looking to get an angle on that, then just flick into the other one to free it up at some point. Normally it tends to be the way that the junior players are pretty attacking, so I think we can firmly expect to see them going for what's on offer here. No problem with the two yellows on the right hand side of the table, but just needs to leave the right angle on the one of the two that does pot near the black. And that's a good shot, playing the more difficult shot to the corner to hold prime position. So Carroll can run the yellow into the middle pocket, take the white on and off the cushion, somewhere back towards the middle of the table. That's pretty much perfect. Simple pot now to the left hand corner, it's just a question of getting the cannon right. I think he's going to need to cannon into the black. He just wants a very, well, arguably a very gentle cannon to hold position, but then he doesn't want to knock the black safe. He may choose to play it a bit firmer. Opted to go for the gentle cannon, just skimmed across the front of the black, hasn't moved it enough. That was the right shot and very close to being played perfectly, but unfortunately just needed that delicate cannon, didn't get it, so now finds himself in a total snooker. Easy enough to hit this yellow, but hard to get it safe. So, table turned back over to Luke Gilbert, who probably thought that he wasn't going to get a chance in this frame after the first couple of shots. It's gone a bit astray though. Don't blame him for playing that cannon. By cannoning the yellow, he had the opportunity to get a perfect position on the red. It wasn't a shot he necessarily needed to play. He could have avoided the cannon and just worked around those balls. No great harm done though, able to play a good safety shot, and he's got his opponent in a fair bit of trouble here. Karel Galka's only got one yellow ball remaining and it's frozen to a red. Plus he can't even see it. Well, that's not bad. He's got out of the snooker, he hasn't given the foul away. It looks like he may have left a touching ball. So Luke will have to play away from this. Able to see the ball over the corner though, so shouldn't be any problem now towards him clearing up. Just a reminder of the action we've got coming up today. You're currently watching the junior singles final. We're also providing live streaming of the under-21 singles final, which is taking place on the other stream table at the same time as this. Links to both of those on our website, World 8 Ball Pool Federation, wepf.org. And then coming up at 10:30, the showpiece event in the team competition, the men's team final, best of 21 frames as England take on Wales. And that will be followed by our two individual finals at 1 o'clock. We've got the ladies singles final and the men's singles final being streamed in parallel for the first time ever today. We've got two stream tables, so the arena has both tables in play at the same time. Not quite a capacity crowd, as you can see from behind. There's actually a lot of seating to the right of the table where there are more people, but those seats put in place for the team final and the individual finals later on. Currently only just gone 9 AM local time in Blackpool, so a little bit early for a lot of the pool players to be playing, but not too early for these two. They've both come out of the traps pretty quickly. Luke Gilbert sinks the black. It's Karel Galka that was in first but couldn't quite get the job done. Luke Gilbert leads by 1 frame to 0. If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of the 2018 World 8-Ball Pool Championships from Blackpool. First up this morning, the junior individual final between Carol Galka of Northern Ireland and Luke Gilbert of England. I'm Mark Shepherd and I'll be with you throughout the day as we provide live coverage of the various finals on offer. First up, the junior and under 23s, followed by the men's team final, and then the ladies and men's individual finals at 1 o'clock today. So first look at Carol Galka's break. She'll be pretty happy with that. Yellow ball finding the pocket. We saw a pretty attacking first frame, and I would imagine that pattern will continue. These balls are pretty open. Potted a yellow off the break, but the red's clearly situated much better. So no surprise to see him taking red. Not too much to do in terms of potting. All these balls are in pretty accessible positions. It's just a case of holding position. You'd hope to come across far enough there to take the red that's to the left of the black into the middle pocket. He could still do that, but I don't think he would be able to play that shot without cannoning another ball with the white. So he's going to take the one over the corner first. And that's gone a little bit astray. He was looking to miss the cannon on the yellow on the left hand side cushion, and unfortunately, having flicked off that, he's knocked the yellow into a position where it's blocking the red to the left of the black, and he's also slightly lost control of the white. He probably felt that he should be on a choice of balls. He would likely have had the red to the middle or the choice of these ones in bulk. I think now he's only left with a plant. No problem though. That was actually a little bit more awkward than it looked. He was quite close to the first red and didn't quite have the right angle, but no problem negotiating that. So he'll take the red that's nearest the baulk cushion now. Wants to bring the white down for his remaining two reds. The one in the middle of the table will be easy enough to get onto. Just needs to be a little careful with how he gets on the one to the left of the black. Purposefully left himself an angle on the one in the middle. I think he's left himself a little bit more angle than he really wanted. This white's going to be flying fairly loose now. If he'd have been a bit straighter on this, he could have screwed through the gap of the two yellows that are just next to the red, but now there's going to be a lot more pace on the white. So I decided to play it to the corner, which made sense because he didn't have a good angle if he cut it in the middle to hold position. He actually played it a pretty good positional shot, but he was forcing an angle that wasn't quite there, trying to get that ball into the corner pocket, and that was why he missed. It wasn't really so much that he missed the pot, he was just trying to get the cue ball into the desired spot. Similar pattern so far to the first frame where Carroll was in first, but then snooking himself on his last ball. Luke Gilbert so far will be pretty happy with this pattern of play. It's usually easier coming to the table second because things are a bit more open for you. They're never easy, those shots. You see some top players play them and they sometimes look easy, but anytime the ball's close to the cushion, you've got to be very careful. If you brush either jaw of the corner pocket, they tend to spit out. So, a bit of a reprieve for Carroll. Comes back to the table with not a bad position. Still not a completely straightforward positional shot, but he can play twice across the table, I think. There's just room to come through. Wants this to run on. Oh, that's a really good shot. That's a very well judged positional shot from that angle. It's a kind of natural angle to come something like that path, but just had to judge the line and the weight just right. See the black there? I think he'll take into the opposite middle. It depends how much angle he's got. If not, he may... Yeah, there we are. He's got able just to drop that into the middle, so no problem at all holding for the black. So, 2 quick frames played. Scores tied at 1 apiece. Luke Gilbert then to get us underway in frame 3. Good solid break, made a good contact with the front ball, didn't lose the white as we sometimes see people do. Been unlucky really not to have potted anything there. I think did pretty much all he could do there. See some people hit the ball a bit harder than that, but on the whole, from what we've seen on these tables this week, control tends to make more sense than literally just smashing the ball as hard as you can. So left a reasonably good layout on reds, which is why Carroll was tempted by that long red. Didn't get very close to that. He's looked pretty steady so far. Didn't really missed too much, but that one he missed by quite a long way. So first opportunity for Luke Gilbert. Plant next up to the bottom left. Not too difficult to shot, although there is a bit of distance between these balls. He's negotiated that well. The ball's sitting pretty well here. The two at the top of the table are in pretty open positions. The one at this end just need a bit of care to negotiate his way around. He's landed pretty much dead straight on this one. If that red below the black goes into the middle, which I think it does, from the way he's lining this up, just wants to end up low on this so that he can pop that ball into the middle and go up the table. The only problem is he's not going to be able to get very far off the cushion. He may be able to, just looking at whether he can borrow a little bit of angle. If he had enough angle that he could run this ball on and off the bottom cushion, that would have been better. Decided that ultimately he just couldn't get into the right place, so he's going to go around things the other way around. That ball, you can clearly see that's nearest to the black, does pot into the middle, but he just couldn't get on in such a way that he could get up for the other ones. There was no point being right in the jaws of the corner pocket, which is where he would have been. So still in decent position. Pot this, play off 2 cushions down for the red in the middle of the table. He's got an okay angle on the one in the middle to get on the last one. He's just looking at whether he's going to have to either come on and off the cushion, depending on how thin it is, either come on and off the cushion or cannon into the black. So he's played the cannon pretty well. He's now got the wrong angle though to get back for the black. This is a simple pot but a fairly difficult positional shot. He's looking at whether he can play all round the angles. The yellow on the left hand side cushion that's just below the baulk line, whilst you wouldn't really think that was part of anything, is slightly in the way of playing the shot round 3 or 4 cushions. As a result of that, I had to play the more difficult shot, looking to come off the right hand side cushion and the baulk cushion through the gap of the yellows. So now left with this very fine clip on the black. Wasn't necessarily expecting to pot it, but would have hoped to get it right over the corner pocket if he hasn't. The problem he's now going to face is that it's very easy for his opponent to snooker him if he feels he needs to. I don't know if that is a snooker actually. He may have left a path through. It's a little bit careless. If he's left a path through, he's left a shot at the potting angle of this. Would have been safer really to get the white right over onto the right hand side cushion, because even if he'd have left the other edge of the black, that wouldn't really have helped very much. Leaving this edge of the black is not ideal at all, and that's a good effort. Different ways of playing that shot. He was playing that with bottom and right hand side. Playing with right hand side helps the pot slightly where he was playing it from, but I would think trying to drag those in with backspin is slightly more difficult than just cueing them centre ball. Either way, he's done the important thing, which is to get the black over the pocket. So now the pressure very much on Karel Galka. Ideally really needs to clear up here, because any kind of safety shot is going to leave some kind of shot at the black. So a couple of different ways he can go about this. If he can get to the right hand side cushion, which it looks like he's trying to, he's going to have to just play it, I imagine, with a trace of right hand side. Well, he's surprised he didn't pot that. I think actually he almost got too close to it. He needed to catch it thin. I think he was surprised by how much of it he could see off the right hand side cushion. I thought he was going to have to bend the ball a little bit more than that, but he could pretty much just play it direct. Probably won't prove costly, although he would have wanted to get this frame done, because there's always stuff that can go wrong. Now, does his opponent look to play another snooker? Yes, he does. Don't know if the same shot's available again. If not, it's a reasonably simple shot to come up and down off the baulk cushion. Yeah, he feels he can get to the side cushion, so this time he's going to have to play with more side, just digging down with a bit of right hand side. Oh, that's unlucky. The cue ball was always going over in that direction, but to actually end up in the middle pocket from that angle's pretty unfortunate. Did all the hard work in that frame, Luke Gilbert, but it's his opponent that takes the frame. Karel Galka leads by 2 frames to 1.
Frame 4, Karel to break, leading
So after being gifted unexpectedly the third frame, it's Karel Galka to break off in frame number 4. Decent enough break, but no balls finding the pocket again. At the moment both of these players struggling somewhat to pass off the break. Don't think Luke Gilbert wants to be too disheartened at what happened in the last frame. He was largely in control of the frame and looked for a moment that he'd won it when he potted the black. It was just a slightly unfortunate in-off that cost him. Those are the things that happen though in pool matches. You don't want to let it get to you, and I'm sure he won't. He hasn't got to this point by getting upset about things. Looking to cannon the red that's on the right hand side cushion, but that's not turned out too bad. He's still got a shot at the red to the bottom corner. May now have to leave that red that's on the right hand side cushion until last and drop it in. It affords some kind of position to the black. It's not going to be a particularly simple last couple of shots, but don't know if there's going to be any better way of getting on it. He's going to have to take the red to the bottom left hand corner next. That's pretty good. Got another ball to the same pocket, and I think he can just about hold position for the one to the opposite pocket. I think the only problem is here, he's not going to be able to get very close. Decided it was better to play round it, which is fine because playing at the, if he'd have held for the opposite pocket, it would have been difficult to get an angle to get on the last red. He's just finished a little bit short here. If he was straight or only just off straight, it would be a simple screw shot. He's going to have to really get into the cue ball here. That's turned out pretty much as bad as it could have done. He was trying to make an angle, it wasn't quite there. He was trying to hit that a little bit thick to avoid the cannon on the red below the black, on the yellow below the black. Don't think that angle was really quite there. So another slight let off for Karel. And a combination of ball in hand and the two visits is going to be very useful here, because ball in hand meant that he could get on one of the difficult yellows and knock another difficult yellow out, which he's done. And the fact that he's got a second visit takes the pressure off and means that if he doesn't land perfectly on a couple of balls on the left hand side that may be a little tricky to get on, it doesn't really matter too much because he's got the luxury of the second visit. Best of 15 this final, so first to 8 takes the trophy. The trophy you can see sitting on the table just to the left of our referee George Bradbury. Proud friends and family looking on. As I say, there's a lot more seating to the right of the table. Over on the other side of the arena, with this arena's got two tables that are both being live streamed in parallel. We've got the under 23 singles final going on over the other side. In that match, Jack Smithers is currently leading Cormac Kerr by 2 frames to 1. In this match, it looks like it's shortly going to be Karel Galka leading by 3 frames to 1 if he just minds his work. Slightly loose shot to the top right there. He's actually got himself into a little bit of trouble here. Should still be okay, but he's turned this from being a very straightforward opportunity into actually quite a tricky one. He's going to have to play a good positional shot off here. Come twice across. So now, from having a few balls that he could simply have rolled in, he's faced with quite a tricky long shot. The yellow below the black is in a pretty open position. It's not a difficult shot as such, but it's just a little bit awkward. He's got a bit of work to do to get position on the last yellow in the middle. Well, if he's deliberately played it as a shot to nothing, well, that was just the way he's playing it, but it's not turned out too bad because, as you can see, he hasn't exactly left a great shot at this red. Disappointing though. You really need to be clearing up from those kind of positions if you've got aspirations of winning the world title. Early stages though in the match. Oh, good shot from Luke Gilbert. So it was Luke that may have been a little bit disappointed after the last frame, but could well be Carroll that's a bit disappointed after this frame. Just this one just off straight black to level things up. And level it up he does. Luke Gilbert makes amends for the last frame. The score's now tied at 2 apiece. So not too much to choose between the players based on what we've seen too far. The score's tied at 2 apiece as Luke Gilbert steps up to break in frame 5. They've both let go opportunities in the last couple of frames. Luke Gilbert's in off in the third frame, gifting that one to Galka, and then Carroll's failure to capitalise on the 2 visits in the last frame proving costly as Luke pulled out a good double to clear up. Not the best break, better in the sense that he potted a couple of balls, but things haven't split up too well. Luke potted one of each and elected to go with the reds. Neither of these two has shown much propensity to get involved in a tactical game so far, but they may not have so much choice here. Luke with a slight advantage at the moment by virtue of having control of the bottom right hand corner pocket, although that can change quickly, so he'll want to try and keep things as tight as possible. Options pretty limited for Carroll here. He's almost touching one of his yellows and can't see any of the other ones. Just confirming with the referee that this yellow isn't on the cushion, so he can just run into it. If it had been on the cushion, he'd need to drive another ball to a cushion as well. So Luke pulling out a good plant there to the centre. Followed that up with a good pot to the bottom left corner, but has ended up a little bit close for comfort with this one, so he's not going to be continuing with the potting from here. No chance of playing a particularly telling safety from that position, but just trying to get the white as far away from the yellows as possible, just to make life a bit difficult for his opponent. Trying to cover the bottom left-hand corner pocket, which made sense because it would have blocked off the red that's in the middle of the bottom cushion. Now he hasn't done that. May find himself in a bit of trouble. He probably felt there that if he hit that red wide, it would go in off the yellow, or at least stay over the pocket, but it's just kind of got between the pocket and the yellow, so it's not completely got that pocket blocked. If Carroll can get into a position later on where he can hit the two yellows that are together on the left-hand side near the corner pocket, I think he'll be able to get them past the red, but he can't do that just yet. He can do it from here though. Still quite tricky, this shot. I think ideally he wants to cover the pocket rather than potting this ball, because he's still got that yellow tied up on the other side. When it's a plant like this, it's quite difficult to judge the pace. It's pretty good. So Luke just looking at whether that red pot, whether he can push it around the yellow. Well, that's turned out pretty badly. It was always going to be quite an ask. I think squeezing the red round was probably going to be okay, but the difficulty he had was that he also needed to get the cue ball out for the other two reds, and that necessitated playing it a little bit thinner than the ideal angle. So that could be quite an important turning point, because it's given Carroll the opportunity to cover that pocket, and now he can either play a deliberate foul here and leave this yellow over the pocket, or he can just bounce the yellow out. So Luke really needs to get this red out quickly. Couldn't of course do it there because it would have just opened the frame up for his opponent. Would ideally need two shots in order to get it out and still have a visit in hand to carry on with the clearance. That's not going to be a particularly easy position to engineer though. Carroll in the meantime has got the luxury of a bit of time. You just promote this ball into a possible position. I think all Luke can really do here is just play a containing shot. I don't think there's Is there anything particularly attacking he can do? Trying to get the black in amongst his two reds on the right hand side. In theory that's the right thing to do. I think he would probably need to get it a bit tighter than that. Although he hasn't left an easy starter for Carroll, so could really do with keeping the second visit in hand here, otherwise otherwise this is going to be a little bit tricky, because he's now got the problem of the black and only one visit. If he wants to be very aggressive, he could play the yellow onto the plant and free the black out at the same time, but I don't think he really needs to do that. Good level of maturity being displayed by both of these two. Nobody rushing into anything unnecessary. Now that the black's tied up on the right hand side, it's an option for Luke to try to free this red, because it's not going to be an easy clearance. That's going to be a problem though, obviously. Needed to catch that red a bit thinner. Now the yellow's gone in. It's a decent opportunity. It's an opportunity that's going to take some work still. He's going to have to got to keep the two visits in hand, so he's going to have to take this long yellow over the left hand corner first. The pot's simple enough, but he's going to have to hit this cleanly to leave a decent shot at the next ball. Oh, he struck that really well. The danger there was underdoing that and leaving himself stuck to the left hand side cushion, but he's cued that really well. He's also struck that really crisply. So I don't think he needs to do anything too clever here. Just leave himself a double on this black. He's still got the two visits, so ideally he wants to try and get the cue ball through. That's not quite far enough. If he'd got the cue ball through about 3 or 4 more inches than that, he'd have been able to double this black back across and get the cue ball right out of the way. It's still fine, but he's just got to be a bit more careful now. Wasn't able to set it up perfectly because he was worried about double kissing the cue ball. That's why he's played the shot in the way that he has. Not able to get the black too close to the pocket. Shouldn't be a problem though. The straight black along the bottom cushion, safely dispatched in a frame that could have gone either way. Karel Galka chalks it up. He now leads Luke Gilbert by 3 frames to 2. If you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of the 2018 World 8-Ball Pool Championships from the Imperial Hotel in Blackpool. This is the junior individual final between Karel Galka and Luke Gilbert. And it's Galka to break. Both of these players struggling a bit with the break. No balls potted there. The yellow's clearly preferable, the way the balls are positioned, but not very easy to get started. Pulls out a good plant though, Luke Gilbert. Still an open table, so that's the one time in pool where you're able to aim for one colour and pot the other colour. It's very purposeful. He's opened these up nicely now. The red nearest to the bottom right hand corner, the yellow I should say nearest to the bottom right hand corner pocket, covered a bit by that red, so may look to flick it out here. It's just drifted past. Still okay, but has got to find a way of freeing up access to that yellow in a moment. Does he feel he can get through to it from here? If he can, that's going to be a bonus. Yes, he feels he can just get through. So that's made life much easier. Got this simple yellow to the bottom left hand corner. It just needs to bring the white out for access to the yellow up over the baulk pocket. Just screw up the table. He's making these look pretty simple so far. It was a decent break by his opponent, but unfortunately he didn't pot anything, and that's pretty much the worst kind of break. Nice controlled positional shot. Get done with rolling just a little bit further, but still no problem. He's looked very composed so far, Luke Gilbert. Considering himself a bit unlucky to be 3-2 behind at the moment. Chance to make amends here though. Just needs to stroke this black ball in. No problem at all. So in double quick time, he pulls one back and levels the scores up once again. Galka 3, Luke Gilbert 3.
Frame 7, look to break, 3 frames all. Time rain, chance to break, 2 frames all.
6 frames played so far, and the players tied at 3 apiece. As Luke Gilbert breaks off in frame number 7. Red ball potted. Slightly messy layout, but not bad. It's going to stick with the reds, unsurprisingly. Must say I've been impressed with the way both of these players go about things. Both look very composed around the table. Both good strikers of the ball. And that's a pretty well thought out shot. Not necessarily playing to pot it like that, just leaving the ball over the pocket, but actually things have turned out pretty well. That time just making sure that he definitely didn't pot it. With the red tied up to the left of the black, it would have been a mistake to be too attacking there. A few more people starting to file into the auditorium now. 9 o'clock an early start by most pool player standards. It's now 10 o'clock local time in Blackpool, so a few more people up and around. It's a pretty late night for a lot of us last night. The ladies' team final was scheduled to start at 10 o'clock. Ultimately ended up going on late because of the late running of the senior singles final before that. England ultimately prevailing over France in the compelling ladies' final. Got another compelling ladies' final later on in the singles event as Barbara Taylor takes on Sharon James. That'll be live at 1 o'clock. And being played at the same time as that is the event everyone's been waiting for, the men's singles final. Mouth-watering match-up between multiple world champion Mick Hill and fellow world champion Phil Harrison, who've been two of the preeminent players in the game for, well, probably 15 plus years now.
30 seconds.
Well, that hasn't gone quite right. You can see the red below the black, which is the one that he's been trying to get out. So all three of his reds now clustered around this bottom left-hand corner pocket. Carroll's problem is that he's got a yellow also involved in that cluster, so he needs to find some way of extricating that, but that's not going to be easy without opening everything up. May just look to play a safety shot off the right hand side of this yellow. Well, that's an innovative shot and one that almost worked. You're trying to screw off the side of that yellow and pot his other ball. That was a good way of freeing things up, but obviously no good to foul the red in. Can't blame him for going for that. The options were pretty limited. His opponent was in a strong position, so it was worth throwing caution a little bit to the wind to try to make something happen. He knew that otherwise he was heading towards an inevitable defeat anyway. All very simple though for Luke Gilbert, just presented with two reds over a pocket and the black waiting to go in the middle. Duly dispatched. So Luke Gilbert goes ahead by the odd frame. He now leads Carol Galka by 4 frames to 3.
Carroll to break, trailing 4 frames to 3. Time running.
Carol Galka then to get us underway in frame number 8, trailing by 3 frames to 4. Put a bit more power into the break that time, and that seems to have paid dividends. Red ball disappearing, and first glance looks a fairly promising layout. You'd imagine he'll stick with reds, a couple of yellows tied up near the black. So that's what he does do. A little bit hampered here, but otherwise no great problem. Always knew that he was going to be cannoning into those 2 yellows, so I don't think he'll be too unhappy with how that's turned out. Anything that didn't involve knocking one of them over the black was a perfectly decent result. No problem reaching it, just a bit awkward over that yellow. Safely dispatched. Come a little bit betwixt and between here. Still got this red to the middle, but the position of that isn't straightforward. There are so many yellows on the table that he'd have to avoid. The difficult red is going to be the one towards the middle of the table on the right hand side. May be able to play it as a plant down to the one over the pocket at some stage. If not, he's going to have to be a bit careful with it because it's a bit covered. And we've seen this a few times in this match. Players trying to force angles that weren't quite there where they've slipped into slightly difficult positions. So yellow safely dispatched. He's slightly tied up one of the other yellows in the process, so that may need to be freed up again in a moment. Not in bad shape here though. This is an opportunity he may not have expected to have, and certainly wouldn't have expected to have so quickly. Now that suggests that there's a path behind this red to the yellow along the bottom cushion, which is helpful because that saves having to flirt with danger and move that red out of the way. Just needs to stroke this in. Oh, that's a really well struck shot. Anytime the ball's close to the cushion like that, it's okay to drop them in, but whenever you're playing with a bit more pace, they become missable. Looks a very good cueist, Luke Gilbert. Well, they both do, but it's Luke that's at the table at the moment. Based on what we've seen so far, 4-3 scoreline is probably about right. They've both played really well so far. Luke's perhaps just had the slightest of edges, and that's reflected by the score at the moment. Just a little annoyed that the cue ball's just run a shade further. If the cue ball was just up a bit close to the baulk line, it would be a really natural angle just to drop in for a straight black. He's going to have to leave the black at slightly more range. Electing to leave it at a longer distance but a better angle. The trade-off there, he could have been closer but cutting it back the other way. So a black that he should get, but one with some pressure. There's a big difference between 5-3 and 4-all. And ultimately that one goes by the wayside. We haven't seen too many missed pots from Luke. That was one of the more difficult shots that he's taken on in this match so far. And can his opponent punish him for that miss? That was brought about just by the slightly overhit positional shot off the penultimate yellow. He still expected him to make the black, but it was at some distance when he could have expected to have a much simpler black than that. Still a bit for Carroll to do though. He's not got the best angle on this red. He's a bit off straight, but he's a bit off straight the wrong way, so he's going to have to force the cue ball round if he wants to get out for the 2 remaining reds. He's going to have to strike this really quite firmly if he takes the one along the bottom cushion. May look at taking the one in baulk instead, but that's a more difficult pot. At least this way is guaranteed position, so you've just got to stroke this ball in. And that's good cueing from Karel Galka. Not out of the woods yet though, needs another good one here. I don't think position's completely natural. He may just be able to force this in straight enough to bring the white down the right hand side of the black. Otherwise he's going to need to screw across the face of the black over to the other side of the table for the remaining red. Looks like that's the option. Yeah, he doesn't like it. Oh, that's turned out pretty well. Decided it was worth the risk of playing a cannon on the black. That could have gone wrong. The black almost went in front of this red, but as it sat down it couldn't really be much better. He's got an absolutely perfect angle to drop this red in, come out for the black. Well, in the end that wasn't an easy clearance. He's taken these nicely, and that's a very important frame. The difference between 5-3 and 4-all is a big one, but it's Karel Galka that gets the frame on the board, and these two players are now tied at 4 apiece. So the players still tied in terms of score, and largely in terms of performance, you'd have to say. I think Luke Gilbert's probably looked the more likely to have got ahead. He should have been ahead by 5-3 had he potted the black in the last frame. He's had a couple of disappointments earlier on though, and he's come back from those, so I don't expect this to be an issue. Both players look to have settled down well into this match and are giving a good account of themselves. A lot at stake here. A lot of cachet involved with winning a world title. And a lot of people who've won the junior world title have gone on to great things in the game, so both of these two will be keen to follow on with that path. Dry break from Luke Gilbert has allowed Karel to the table for this opportunity. It's not quite in prime position at the moment. Tried to get on the difficult yellow, which is the one that the cue ball's nearest, but just finished a bit between a couple of options on this. Decided it was worth the risk of trying to cut it back to the middle. Can't really blame him for that, because it was a difficult ball to get on, and having almost got on it, you can see why he was tempted to try to pot it. If that had gone in, everything else would have been fairly open. Luke sensibly deciding to play the safety. Reds aren't badly positioned, but they're not exactly over the pockets. There's a couple that are tied up, so may as well buy a bit of time and find a better opportunity. Well, that's very unfortunate. Big target to hit all of those yellows. Couldn't really imagine going in off that. Nothing he could really have done differently about that shot. Don't know if he's not sure that that red goes, he could just put the cue ball somewhere else. Yeah, that's a much better choice of shot. He's actually got a really good angle. Passing the red into the top right hand corner, he can cannon into the one over the middle. Although the only reason you might not do that is it's going to be quite easy to knock that one over the middle further down the cushion. I think that's okay. On one level it was a no-brainer to play that because the ball was fairly tied up and it was a very simple cannon to judge. The only slight problem was that sometimes you end up knocking the ball safe and then you get yourself into more trouble. So you can pot this and screw the cue ball back out. This is a good opportunity now. Just to keep you up to date with action on the other side of the arena, Cormac Kerr just potted his way into a 5-2 lead against Jack Smithers. That's in the under-23 singles final. Back on this table, Luke using his spare visit to set the red up. So just needs to pot this, bring the cue ball back. He's just slightly overdone that. He's had a bit more angle than he wanted on that last ball, so it's a little difficult to hold. It's okay with the black. He's okay with the red. It's just a question of how he cannons the black. Oh, he's played that really well. Judged the cannon perfectly on the black. Just a simple ball now. Good stuff from Luke Gilbert to come back from the disappointment of the last frame. Looked like he could go 5-3 up. He saw his opponent level it at 4 apiece, but gets ahead by the odd frame again. Luke Gilbert 5, Karel Galka 4.
Frame 10, Carroll to break, trailing 5 frames to 4. Time running.
So 9 frames played and only 1 frame to choose between the players at the moment, which is in favour of Luke Gilbert. Carroll flirting with the middle pocket there. The cue ball looked for all the world like it was going down, but somehow bounced back onto the playing surface. No balls potted though. I think both players are probably going to be a bit mystified about the way the break's gone, actually. I wouldn't really say either of them have broken badly at all. They both seem to be striking the break perfectly well, but neither of them really having much luck potting anything. At least in that sense it's kept things reasonably even. Sometimes you can have one player that's potting all the time and the other that isn't, and that makes the match pretty one-sided, but it's actually kind of averaged itself out on the whole so far. Yellow just hanging momentarily on the edge of the pocket, but to Luke's relief it's gone in. decent opportunity. Luke Gilbert at the moment you'd feel is making a little bit more of the running. He seems to be in first a little bit more often. But Carroll's been waiting to pounce and certainly done his share of the potting as well. Possible 6 more frames to be played if this match was to go the distance. Right now, Luke Gilbert's going to be hoping that it doesn't go the distance. He'd like to get things wrapped up before that. This has been a very good break. He's never really been out of position. It's always the hallmark of a good player when you make it look easy. He's not had to do anything flamboyant, but the reason for that is that he's kept really good control of the white. He's playing at a good pace. Doesn't look like he's hurrying, but getting on with it. Dry break from Carroll. Luke steps in to take advantage and takes a 2-frame lead for the first time in this match. He now leads by 6 frames to 4.
Frame 11, Luke to break, leading 6 frames to 4. Time running.
So Luke Gilbert to break in frame 11, leading by 6 frames to 4. Red ball down. Starting to grow in confidence, took out a good clearance in the last frame. 2 away from the magic number, 8, which will secure the trophy that's just above Luke's head at the moment. Decided that yellows are his way forward in this frame. May go after the difficult one on the right hand side cushion now. Oh, how well has he hit that? Just rolled that in like it was over the pocket. Anytime you're cutting the ball at an angle like that down the cushion, it's so easy just to push it thick into the cushion, but struck that sublimely. Playing so far with a maturity that belies his relative youth. Kind of looks like he's been around in this setting for a long time. Indeed, they both do. Carroll's also looked pretty assured at the table. Good quality juniors tend to get quite a lot of match practice. There's lots of strong junior tournaments around which have high quality fields. So they're normally quite match sharp, but it's hard to practice for being in quite this environment. There aren't very many times in his career that he's likely to have played in front of a crowd and being filmed like this in a match that really matters. And it doesn't matter much more than the World Championship final. What an accolade this would be for whichever of the players lifts this trophy. Right now, Luke Gilbert's edging rapidly towards getting a hand on the trophy. Oh, he's taken these so well. The last 2 clearances have just made them look so easy. This one in particular, a couple of tricky shots, particularly the one down the right-hand side cushion. Makes no mistake at all, and now races into a 3-frame lead. Luke Gilbert 7, Karel Galka 4. Well, we had high expectations for this match at the beginning, and it's certainly lived up to that. Been a great quality of play from both players so far, and particularly from Luke Gilbert. A couple of great clearances in the last couple of frames to get himself towards a winning position. Frustratingly, another dry break from Karel. He must be starting to think that things are slipping away from him a bit. Still anyone's game, but Karel's going to have to win all 4 of the remaining frames if he's going to lift this title. Luke's got the luxury of only needing to win one of them, and look at the way he's growing in confidence now. Plants the ball into the middle pocket, takes the opportunity to cannon out the difficult ball. Not finished perfectly, he's finished a bit too close to the ball that he's just played that cannon on to pot it, but he's got this alternative long shot to the bottom right. Now everything's starting to look very easy. These are ominous signs for Karel. That red to the right centre, whilst it's looking like it should be an easy pot because it's hanging right over the middle pocket, it's been guarded a little bit by the yellow. In an ideal world, you'd be wanting to end up the bulk side of it so that you could pot it and run the cue ball down to the bottom of the table. That's not really an option, which is why he's sensibly taking the path of safety rather than potting his way into trouble. Not really able to play a particularly telling safety shot there, but his opponent's in a bit of bother because he's got a few balls tied up. And I don't know what he was trying to do there, but I don't think it was that, because he's left Luke a pretty good angle on the ball that I was saying might be difficult to get on, and now everything else is pretty much out in the open. Has Karel played his last shot in this World Final? Not necessarily. It's not easy to find the winning frame sometimes, and these balls still need a bit of care and attention. That's okay. Well, if he is nervous, he doesn't look to be feeling it. And again, he's played a sensible shot there. It would have been quite possible to carry on with the clearance, but it was going to be difficult to get nicely on the red that's nearest the yellows and the black. Didn't quite have the right angle to keep the clearance going, so rather than pushing the boat out, has decided to keep things tight. And again, it was a tricky position. I'm not saying there was anything easy he could have done, but that's not the most telling safety shot. Luke's got a clear shot at this red if he wants to pot it. He does, but he's finished with a little bit too much angle on this red. If he was a bit straighter on this, he could have forced the cue ball through and maybe played a cannon on the yellow that's just below the black. I don't know that he can do that. He may be able to kind of brush through. Yeah, it looked like he might be able to just brush off that yellow and the black and force the cue ball through. And he got that bit pretty much right, but unfortunately he brought a yellow through with him. Just confirming with George Bradbury, the referee, that that's a total snooker. So, does he want to just drop dead weight onto this, or is he going to try and promote it? So, deciding to open the red up, which is a decent option, because at least if he gets back to the table, he may have some kind of shot at it. He's not going to have a shot at it just yet, though, because he's going to find himself snookered, I rather imagine, when he next comes to the table. Well, it almost looked for a moment like he was trying to pot that. I can't seriously believe he wanted that ball to go in. The position of the white seems perfectly acceptable. He's going to try and play this at pace to double the red both ways across the table. He has, goodness me. What a shot. I think he played pretty close to that, because the more obvious shot seemed to be to come off the other side cushion, but he came round to look at that. Well, what a way this would be to win a world title. He's just potted one ball out of a snooker. In a pretty imaginative way. What price the second one? This isn't a bad position to pot if you catch this ball straight. Well, not quite the fairy tale end, but down to the last ball, so all the pressure in the world resting on Carroll now. Knows this could very well be his last chance at the table if he doesn't get things right. The ball's not sitting too badly apart from the one on the right hand side cushion, so you wouldn't blame him if he decided to go for something here. Could equally play a safety shot. The two yellows are together below the black. If you were to get a bit closer to them, you could play into one and roll the cue ball behind the other. Depends how he feels about this one on the right hand side cushion. Nervous moments for both players. Luke Gilbert standing looking on. Knows that if his opponent was to miss, he'll be coming back to the table with one pot to secure the world title. Carroll, on the other hand, knows that he's got to win all of the remaining frames. Well, I'm slightly surprised he's played things like this. He's got himself under an enormous amount of pressure now. Now, has he come far enough for the double? It's basically one do or die shot to stay in this year's World Championships. So, this yellow to keep his title hopes alive. Well, Looked for all the world like that white was going in, and that would have been a certain defeat. As it is, the white's in the most inconvenient place on the table. But Luke's still got a good shot at this black. Nothing ever comes easy in life. This black to win the world title. He steadies himself, gets down to the shot. Oh, great pot. He's played so well in this match. Luke Gilbert shakes his opponent's hand, takes the applause from his friends and family. He prevails over Karel Galka by 8 frames to 4, and it's a well-deserved victory. He played the better of the two players in the second half of that match. It was close at the beginning, but he really grew in stature. Congratulations to Luke Gilbert. Commiserations to Karel Galka. He played his part in this match. His time will come. But right now, it's Luke Gilbert that prevails by 8 frames to 4.
Go. Stand up, please.